Convergence, a League of Legends story. Hello everyone and welcome to my video on the top 5 best platformers coming out in 2023. In this video, I will give you an overview of each game, their pros and cons, and the platforms they will be available on. Let's start with number 5, Convergence, a League of Legends story. Convergence is a single-player action platformer that lets you play as Echo, a young inventor from Zaun who has a device that can manipulate time. You will explore different environments with parkour-style traversal, while you level up your combat and time abilities to defeat various enemies in Zaun. The game is based on the popular League of Legends universe and features an original story that expands on Echo's backstory and personality. The game also has a stunning art style that blends 2D and 3D graphics with dynamic lighting and shadows. Some of the pros of Convergence are: it has a unique gameplay mechanic that allows you to rewind time and create different outcomes for yourself and your enemies. It has a rich and immersive world that showcases the culture, history, and conflicts of Zaun. It has a charismatic protagonist who is witty, clever, and relatable. Some of the cons of Convergence are: it may not appeal to players who are not familiar with or interested in League of Legends lore. It may have some technical issues or bugs, since it is still in development. It may be too short or linear for some players who prefer more open-ended or replayable games. Convergence, a League of Legends story, will be released in summer 2023 for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. If you are a fan of action platformers or League of Legends, you should definitely check it out. Schim is a 3D platformer that is all about jumping from shadow to shadow in a challenging and lively environment. You play as a Schim, a shadow creature who is trying to get back to its home world after being separated from its owner. The game has a beautiful and abstract art style that uses light and animation as gameplay elements. You can interact with objects and creatures that cast shadows and use them to reach new areas or avoid obstacles. You can also manipulate light sources to create new shadows or change the shape of existing ones. Some of the pros of Schim are: it has a unique and innovative gameplay mechanic that makes you think creatively about how to use shadows. It has a colorful and dynamic world that reacts to your actions and changes constantly. It has a charming and whimsical atmosphere that contrasts with the dark theme of shadows. Some of the cons of Schim are: it may be too difficult or frustrating for some players who are not used to precision platforming or timing puzzles. It may have some performance issues or glitches, since it is still in development. It may be too short or simple for some players who prefer more complex or varied games. Schim will be released sometime in 2023 for PC. If you are looking for a fresh and original platformer that challenges your perception of light and shadow, you should definitely give it a try. 9 Years of Shadows. 9 Years of Shadows is a 2D metroidvania game that tells the story of Europa, a young warrior who fights to bring colors back to a world that has been submerged in darkness for 9 years. She is accompanied by Apino, a ghostly childhood friend who helps her with his magic. The game features a handcrafted world that changes as you restore colors and unlock new areas and abilities. The game also has a rich soundtrack, composed by legendary musicians such as Michiru Yamane, Castlevania, and Manami Matsumae, Mega Man. Some of the pros of 9 Years of Shadows are: it has a compelling and emotional story that explores themes such as friendship, courage, and hope. It has a beautiful and detailed pixel art style that creates a contrast between light and dark. It has a satisfying and challenging gameplay that combines exploration, combat, puzzles, and upgrades. Some of the cons of 9 Years of Shadows are: it may be too hard or frustrating for some players who are not used to metroidvania games or retro-style difficulty. It may have some technical issues or bugs since it is still in development. It may be too similar or derivative for some players who have played many metroidvania games before. 9 Years of Shadows will be released on March 27, 2023 for PC. If you're looking for a captivating and colorful platformer that pays homage to classic games like Castlevania and Mega Man, you should definitely check it out. The Last Faith. Welcome back to my video on the top 5 best platformers coming out in 2023. In this video, I will give you an overview of each game, their pros and cons, and the platforms they will be available on. Let's continue with number 2, The Last Faith. The Last Faith is a dark fantasy action platformer that draws inspiration from games like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and Bloodborne. You play as Eric, a former soldier who returns to his homeland after a long absence and finds it corrupted by a mysterious cult. The game features a non-linear exploration of a vast gothic world filled with secrets, enemies, and bosses. You can customize your character with different weapons, spells, and skills that suit your playstyle. You can also perform brutal executions on your foes and unleash powerful special attacks. Some of the pros of The Last Faith are: it has a stunning pixel art style that creates a gloomy and atmospheric environment. It has a fast-paced and fluid combat system that rewards skill and strategy. It has a rich lore and story that unfolds through environmental storytelling and optional quests. Some of the cons of The Last Faith are: it may be too violent or graphic for some players who are sensitive to gore or horror themes. It may have some balance issues or bugs since it is still in development. It may be too hard or unforgiving for some players who are not used to action platformers or Souls-like games. The Last Faith will be released sometime in 2023 for PC. If you are looking for a dark and challenging platformer that pays tribute to classic games like Castlevania and Bloodborne, you should definitely keep an eye on it. Hollow Knight. Silksong. Hollow Knight. Silksong is the highly anticipated sequel to Hollow Knight, one of the most acclaimed and beloved metroidvania games of all time. You play as Hornet, a fierce warrior princess who is captured and taken to a new kingdom of silk and song. The game features a massive, hand-drawn world that is full of new friends, enemies, secrets, and challenges. You can explore diverse landscapes, from mossy grottos to gilded cities. You can craft tools and weapons from materials you find along your way. You can also encounter over 150 new bosses that will test your skills and reflexes. Some of the pros of Hollow Knight. Silksong are: it has a gorgeous art style that blends dark and whimsical elements. It has a captivating soundtrack that matches the mood and tone of each area. It has a deep and engaging gameplay that combines exploration, combat, platforming, and customization. Some of the cons of Hollow Knight, Silksong are: it may be too long or overwhelming for some players who prefer shorter or more linear games. It may have some technical issues or bugs since it is still in development. It may be too difficult or frustrating for some players who are not used to metroidvania games or Hollow Knight's mechanics. Hollow Knight. Silksong will be released sometime in 2023 for PC. If you're looking for a masterpiece platformer that will immerse you in a beautiful and mysterious world, you should definitely not miss it. That's it for my video on the top 5 best platformers coming out in 2023. I hope you enjoyed it and found some games that interest you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Link to the next part under the video. Thanks for watching.